words, so bear with me with how I explain it. So we met in 2010, and from the get-go I wanted to do both the oils and the business, and I could never really explain why, like to myself I couldn't explain why. So we tried to do it in Australia, and even though it was working, it wasn't really working, and I could never really pinpoint why. And then I moved home, and I wasn't really trying to do the business, and the business happened. So we spent kind of the next year teaching and finding, and things were growing, but when it came to the mentoring stage, I got a little bit lost, and I didn't know how to move forward. And I have to give credit to a person in the room called Joe Ford. He's a really amazing, I'd say therapist, but he's not even that. He's become a really close friend to me now. But one of the things I'm probably big on is understanding people. And I'm sorry if I get upset because Linda, just when you said the warmth, it's something I wanted to bring to Lotera. So Liz, I really appreciate what you said earlier on as well. I appreciate Steph and Rod's professionalism, but for me, there was something missing, and I didn't know, I couldn't explain it in words when I would speak to Steph and Rod, and it probably held me a little bit back from being mentored. So anyway, I went to Joe Ford. I met him in a fair down in Ennis, and Joe said he did hypnosis, and I'm very eager to learn about anything alternative, so I sent my dad, because I send dad everywhere, and then when he found it good, I sent myself, and then I sent everyone around me. So when I went there, Joe said, what is it that you want to work on? And I was kind of thinking, I don't really know what I want to work on. He said, is there anything you're struggling with you need help with? The one thing I noticed was, recently I stopped being able to do my to-do list. And I didn't know why, and Joe said to me, well, what's on your to-do list? And I said, just really basic things like exercising, eating well, shopping, just such minimal, just small day-to-day things. I struggled with it, and he said the only reason why you'd struggle with it would be, so when you do your to-do list, how do you feel? And I said, I feel on fire, I'm energized, I could take over the world. And then he said to me, well, the only reason why you wouldn't do it is if you're avoiding a pain somewhere else in your life. And that kind of threw me as in what am I avoiding? If I can feel so amazing when I do those simple things, why do I avoid them? So he asked me where did the pain come from? So I sat there for a minute before the session started, and I realized that when I'm really energized and really happy, I'm very, very, very unpredictable. And if someone asked me to move country in the morning, I would have my life back at the airport. And I kind of realized at that moment that I probably avoid doing my to-do list because I fight with Adam, because Adam likes certainty and he likes things to be predictable, and I'm obviously the opposite. So Adam was in Australia at the time, and I rang him and I said, I was speaking to Joe, and when I go to do these simple things that energize me, without you realizing it, you get in the way. And Joe said to me, what you're actually doing is what happens when you're energized. I said, me and Adam fight. So he said, one of your away values is anger. And we've all heard about our values and our beliefs, but we've never really practically looked at what impact they have in our life. So anyway, just how to take the rest of the slide. Okay, so I'll just see what my first slide was. So when he said to me that anger is your away value, and you'd prioritize that, you'd prioritize avoiding anger more than you would your own success and happiness, I kind of thought, oh wow. So I went home and So I went home and I thought about what are all the things that I do in my life that energize me, and what are all the things in my life that create a negative impact. And one of the things I probably noticed was, just to give an example, if Joe hadn't pointed that out to me that day, I would have probably called myself lazy, you know, I wasn't decisive enough to make a decision and all these things. But when I actually became clear about, you know, anger was one of my away values, I started to look what other away values and core values do I have that impact my life. So for everyone in the room, if you are feeling insecure, indecisive, discouraged, lazy, inauthentic, negative, generally there's one or two things happening. So the first set of things is probably what I want people on my team to feel. Like I want them to feel authentic, energized, positive, empowered, decisive, and passionate. And when they don't feel that, and I see things like they're, you know, I think they're insecure, or someone might say lazy, or they call themselves that, I won't just leave it at that, because I want to know why they're feeling like that. So, sorry, Adam.
Stop. No.
Okay. So, the main thing I want for people is, I want them to understand themselves. Now, my whole thing was about, you can't understand your customers or people in your team until you understand yourself. And the main things I started to do with people in our team is, I started to try and identify their core values and their away values. So through certain questions, I find out, you know, what do they move towards that make them feel energized, passionate, and that they would spend any amount of time, money, or effort achieving. Then I try and find out what are their away values. So, you know, what are they moving away from all the time that drains them and it's negative, and that they would actually spend any amount of time, money, or effort avoiding. Now, this is really important for everyone in the room, because this is your why. And a lot of times people can't make goals because they don't know their why. So when you get to the Fast Track Planner, if you haven't done this, you'll struggle to put down an authentic goal that's for you. So so as everyone knows, I have no problem bearing my own soul. So these are what I think are my core values and away values. So if you look at my core values, integrity, truth, compassion, manipulating shouldn't be there to them. Relationship. So I value relationships with people, in particular my family. I value vitality, so I love to feel great. I don't want thanks for feeling good. I love to feel great. I value freedom. I value empowerment. So I don't want people to do things for my reasons. I want them to do them for their reasons. And I really value self-esteem. So for me, everything I do in life, I'm working towards achieving that, whether it's for myself or it's for people in my team. Now, things that I avoid are inauthenticness, being misunderstood, negativity, being controlled, or anger. Now, just to give an example of, you know, for everyone in the room, you will have the exact same amount of core and away values, but yours will be completely different. Now, to give you an idea, mine is inauthentic, one of them. If you were to ever hear me speak about someone who's inauthentic, you would think I am a horrible, horrible person. The whole idea of someone being inauthentic, it goes through me. Whereas for you, you might mind people being inauthentic, but it might really, really, really annoy you, just say if they were negative. So the word for you will be very, very specific. Now, when I do this with people on our team, when I'm asking questions, the same themes keep coming up in their lives over and over again. Now, just to give an example of my story with doTERRA, just so you can see it practically in relation to my core values, my way values. When I started with doTERRA, probably the integrity of the company was one, and the products. I wanted freedom, so I wanted the financial freedom. However, and the vitality, I just love the vitality. But because I lived in Australia, I didn't really have the relationships. And for me, because authenticity is so important to me, I couldn't just get out there authentically, because I knew if I was making new friends, I was doing that to make, you know, me successful, not necessarily for their benefit. So I struggled a little bit. And we had a little bit of inauthenticness in our team, which I really struggled with as well. So I would rather not grow my team than work with someone who's inauthentic. So, you know, I didn't even realise I was holding myself back. But when we moved home to Ireland, at this point I had a 10-week-old baby, and so he was my priority. My mum was sick at the time, so she was my priority. But ironically enough, because everyone came to visit us and they had ailments of their own, it was really authentic for me to be able to offer them the oil, and without realising I was planting seeds. Now, one thing that's really authentic, some of you will know my brother Mihal, and we were just speaking earlier on. Mihal was kind of the person who really got it going in Ireland, if I were to be very honest, because when I mentioned the opportunity, Mihal brought us our first 2 builders where I felt I could build authentically, and I could go out and I could find and I could teach and I could empower them, and they were authentic, and it kind of was ticking all my values for me. But the other thing was, you know, like we had a 10-week-old baby, the business wasn't, like 2 things would happen. If I didn't make Doterra work, we might have had to have gone back to Australia, and the second thing was, I would have to have probably gone back to work and not have to be with Paddy. So all of a sudden, my priorities completely went up. But so this is probably why, you know, if someone said to me, so poor Seth, so all Seth wanted us to do was get on a weekly call at a set time, and I just could not do it. But I could teach and I could find people all day long. But in terms of my core values, which I didn't really understand, was my baby, which was 10 weeks old, and my mum were a complete priority. And after that, everything took a back seat. So I did the business to a certain level, but I didn't really take on a mentoring role apart from the, I suppose, the finding and teaching level. So then when I met Joe, I kind of realised about, you know, my core and away values, and I wanted to find them in other people. So the reason why it's so important for everyone in the room to kind of know your own is, it's very hard. So someone mentioned, you mentioned that people, you know, don't want to be ordered around or they don't want to go into the system. So the reason why is, if you don't understand them and, you know, you can't make them feel safe that you're going to help them to build, to tick their core values and keep away from their away values, they're not safe enough to come into a system where you're asking them for numbers. So for me, what I've been trying to do is, for people who are resisting a system, I'm bringing them, I'm finding out their core values and away values, and I'm reassuring them that they can build the business in aligned with who they are. Because I hate inauthentic people, and I don't want anyone to be in that position where they're selling and they're not giving. Now, if you were to take my ideal customer, so I'm building out in alignment with who I am, I find people who, now I don't have knowledge up there, but knowledge is a big thing for me. But I find people who are eager to learn. I find people who don't just want to feel good, they want to feel great. So anyone who I enroll, you'll notice they're proactive in their health, and they love their health. They're not buying the oil because they're sick, they're buying it because they want to feel better. And I want to empower people. So like, I want people out there who I know can do it. They don't need me to do it, but they might just need a little bit of help understanding who they are. So this is kind of what happened. So Joe told me, I went away and I figured out all this, then I rang as many people who were open to a phone call with me, and I did all their core and away values. And every single person who's thriving in our business, and I'm going to name one person shortly, is thriving because they've figured out that they can build the system aligned with who they are, and now they've no problem following the system. So, you know, people say people want to do things for their reasons, not your reasons. If they feel understood to this level, they never think when you ring them that you want something out of them. It's, you're empowering them to do it. And I'm happy to let anyone do it at their own speed, if they do it. Oh yes, that was, okay, so this is kind of an interesting one. So when you think about your core values and your away values, when you're touched on your away values, you're probably very negative and you probably struggle with things to do. Whereas when you're doing your core values, you're passionate, you're on fire, and you're really in your place. So if you were to think about it, if you can live your core values, you can achieve your mission and purpose. So some people, so it's just, sorry, what is your name? Sinead, okay, I could have hard to actually your father's name, sorry Sinead. But you think we're specific, but I know there's a word that's specific to you, that what you want to create with people, and it's not helping, but it's a specific word, and you'll notice that comes up in other areas of your life. But if you were to actually get clarity around that word and other words, you can basically shape everything around it, but you've got your mission and purpose. Whereas with your way values, you have to learn to master and discipline them. So to give you an example about my ones, I struggle with inauthentic people. When I was younger, I would just do anything to get them out of my life. I might end up fighting. I'd let them in, let them out, let them in. I'd feel bad for pushing them away. I'd put them back in, then I'd hate them, then I'd put them back in, and they drove me crazy. So for me to discipline that way value for me, I had to learn to, create boundaries with people and feel okay with myself, that I could say, love them for who they are, but they don't need to be in my life. And if they choose to, be who they really are, they can come back in, which is fine. But any of your core and way values, there is actually where your why is, and your way values is what's holding you back. Now, I tried to do a training on how to train people how to do this. I thought it was really simple, and then Linda and Kieran said it's actually not as simple. But the main things, if I were to just give people advice as to how to do your own, is if I were to ask you the last time someone irritated or angered you, or a situation where you felt upset or annoyed, if you thought about the last 4 situations that happened with, you'd notice there's the same theme in every single one of them. And you might be unaware of that, but there's the same thing that's going on. The core and a way value is being triggered. Whereas when you think about when you're passionate and you're on fire and you're energized and you're confident and people are following you, you're living your core values. And when you get your core values, then you can actually figure out what your why is, because it will be in line with those. Now just in relation to your business, so you know how Seth spoke about finding, teaching, enrolling and duplicating. So this is what I mean by understanding people. Say for example, if someone is finding and they value compassion, but they avoid inauthenticness. So they want to help people in the room, but they struggle that people might think that they want to make money off them. So, oh no, that's finding, sorry. Oh yeah, so values compassion, but avoids inauthenticness. So they want to help the world, but because they're in the system, and they feel that they need to get numbers, they're out approaching absolutely everybody. And they feel so inauthentic because they're not resonating with the person and it makes them uncomfortable. Whereas if they were to look at what their area of influence is and who they connect with, find people who you have something in common with, who, if they never use the oils, you'd love ringing them about a different topic. So say anyone in our team now, when we finish with our oils conversation, we could be on the phone for 2 hours, and you know what I mean, you could be talking about anything else. However, if I try to bring someone in who I don't resonate with, every time I ring them, I'm only ringing them because I want them to place an order. I don't have anything in common with them, so it's really inauthentic. So find in line with your values. Like if you think teaching is a good target market because they teach kids and always be great for kids, if you aren't aligned with that area, don't go after it. Let someone else in your team. Stick to where you have influence, where you can feel authentic. Say for example, if someone was teaching and they valued education and expertise, but they want to avoid being exposed, I would try to figure out how can they teach people without leaving themselves exposed. So if they are always avoiding being exposed or vulnerable, I need to understand what needs to happen for them to teach where they don't feel or they can avoid that emotion. And it might just be they need someone with them to answer questions that they can't answer, or they need to have a line they can back someone like, that's a really interesting question, but I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get back to you within 2 days with the answer and move on. But you have to understand, if they don't want to be exposed, but they value education and expertise, they are never going to educate anybody if they're going to feel that they're going to be exposed. Enrolling. Say for example, someone values success, so they really, really, really want to be successful, but everything they do in life, they're avoiding being abandoned. And just say they're enrolling their friend, and their worst nightmare is that their friend might sign up, use oil, think it's a scam, or think that you were making money off them, and leave you as a friend. So for me, I'd say to someone, look, don't enroll anyone to begin with until you've enrolled strangers where you don't care if they abandon you. Because by the time you realise that people want the product and they value the product, then you can approach your friends and you won't worry that they're going to abandon you, because you'll see strangers didn't abandon you. The fourth one could be duplicating. So people might value control and quality, but they avoid incompetence. So I'm just going to bring up Adam here, if that's okay. So Adam struggled with duplicating because Adam wants things done to a certain level and he likes to be in control, but that's not empowering. So it was like, how do you teach someone where they can do it to a level high enough that you can walk away? So like if you think about it, so first you need to understand yourself, and when you understand yourself, you can know who to target or who you're going to influence, and then when you're influencing them. So to give you an example, I know that our target market are people, say one of them is that they're proactive in their health, but that's not their value. Now for me, vitality is my value, but they might be proactive in their health because they avoid abandonment. And what I mean by that is, if you were to dig deeper, they might be in top health because they don't want their kids to feel abandoned if they were sick or they passed away, or they don't want someone they care for, say who's older, to ever feel abandoned because they couldn't take care of them. And it always goes deeper. And I just think it's probably something we completely overlook, but the one thing I have noticed, anyone that I've done their core and away values with gets clarity, knows who they are, knows where they're going to go out and target, they're confident, they're enthusiastic. And so Seth, Kerry in Australia, if you were to describe one word in Kerry's transformation over a 3-month period, what would you call it? Kerry knows who she is and what she's been avoiding all her life. And now she knows how to take control and discipline her way values and work towards her core values. Tracy in Australia, there's another lady, she would not do the business. Now she loves the oils, she works in a pharmacy, she knows the oils are the best thing, but she didn't agree with how people around her were doing the business. And when I rang her and I understood her values, and then she got clarity on them, she went out and she held 2 classes and she signed up 5 people. The other one, I'm just going to bring up my sister because she's the highest enroller on Seth's complete team in this month, and she's had 7 enrollerships. Like, Deirdre's on fire, but Deirdre's doing it for her reasons, not ours. But she didn't know her. But she didn't know her why, because you know, when you have big goals, that was about her and not other people. But now that she knows who she wants to help, people, you know, who she aligns with, everything is just taken off for her. And I know she'll be diamond. But it's don't write people off who are coming towards you. So when people stop coming up, stop turning up, that's fine. But sometimes people are afraid to turn up because they think that you're going to judge their numbers. And with the fast track planner, there's a fine line between doing it for you and doing it for them. So for you, it's just a guide. Like when I first met Seth spoke about how he had a network marketing or a telemarketing business, and he said he'd have everyone on the phone and he would know, he'd get everyone to write up how many calls they did, what time of the day they did them, how many people answered, and how many people purchased what they were selling on the telemarketing. And I remember him saying, like he did with the fast track planner, he could tell from the numbers what was going on in their life. But sometimes people are afraid of the numbers because they don't understand that you're not going to judge them if they don't get the numbers. So sometimes I like to give people time to plant seeds before they have to give me their numbers, because I think when you get momentum in doTERRA, the numbers just happen. You don't, like, it's okay for us to monitor them just from a background point of view, but the numbers aren't what we're looking for. The numbers are there to help you. So if someone's numbers are low, then that means that if you're teaching people and they're not signing up, as Seth said, that just means something isn't right with you. So there's 2 things Seth and Rod always say is work. What's it? Work.
Invite everyone.
Yeah.
Work with those who live towards you.
Work with those who move towards you, and mentor the committed. Now sometimes people come in and they come out, and they come in and they come out, but it's because they come out if they think that you're going to put pressure on them, and they come out if they think they're going to look stupid doing the business. But if you make them feel safe and secure about their core and away values, and that you have your own issues to deal with, then all of a sudden they're safe and they don't feel vulnerable to be in that system. But since I've done the core and away values, no one has rejected the system. Whereas without them, people won't join the system. So that's probably the one thing is, really get clarity on who you are, get clarity on who your customers are, and get clarity on who you're mentoring. Yeah?
What if your core values, what if your way values are somebody else's core values?
Okay, so me and Adam, great example.
Old Adam.
Okay, old Adam. So no, because it's good. So me and Adam fight like hell, and then we love like hell. We are like, some people think that we're either hate each other and they don't understand we're married, or when we're married you're like, whoa, you're so honest with each other. So what I noticed with Adam, and this is probably the main thing that came back with Joe, was so because when I'm energized and I'm out there and I'm unpredictable, what was happening was I became aware of this. It's just the awareness, nothing else changed, only that you're aware. What was happening was I'd go shopping and Adam would go, no, you don't that, I get that. Or I'd go for a run and Adam would say, oh, I think it's cold outside, or it's raining, or we're going to be late, you're not going to have time, or if I were going to, anything that I would go to do to get energized, unconsciously, Adam was completely getting in my way, and then giving out to me for not doing the thing that he got in the way of me doing. But eventually, even though I was avoiding anger by not being assertive with him, eventually I blew up because I'd be so frustrated that I was so miserable and what was wrong with me and I couldn't understand it. Whereas when I understood that my core value, to be energized, went away Adam's one of being in control, we had to discuss it, okay? But one morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I really wanted to go for a run that day. And I knew Adam would come up with reasons I couldn't. So I jumped out of the bed, I put on my runners, and I was outside the bedroom door and I heard, Rosie, where are you going? Are you okay? Where are you going? And I just ran out of the house at 4 a.m. just so that Adam couldn't interfere in my run. And then I got home, I was so energized, I started juicing, which had been on my to-do list for about a year. Then Adam got up and he's like, damn, now I have to go for a run. Oh, I hate you. So Adam went for a run. So then another day, so I said to Adam, you need to get out of my way, stop interfering with that. Then another day, Adam was just about to jump into the shower and I was like, I'm going to go for a quick run. And he started to talk about, I wouldn't have enough time, it's raining, and I just blew up. I was like, this is exactly what you do that ruins my life. I just want to go for a run so I'd be good and you're getting in my way, it's not raining, we have enough time. And it was like the biggest blow up. But even though I was trying to avoid anger, because I became aware of it, every single time he got in my way, I called him on it. Now, that being said, I appreciate that Adam likes to be in control. So, out of courtesy for Adam, I give him enough time or notice that he needs to feel safe. But the awareness of it and just the discussion about it, we don't clash anymore. I go for a run, I juice, I walk, and just when Adam goes to interfere, he goes, I'm not going to do that. But it's just the understanding and the awareness of it. Now with Adam, I know that Adam he likes people to be reliable and do what they say they're going to do. And I'm really in the flow. So yesterday I went to Ennis, and actually the last 2 days I went to Ennis, and I arrived home an hour late both times. So maybe Adam just expects that. But I've gotten better. Sometimes I'd arrive home 3 hours later than I said I'd get home. So I'm making a more conscious effort. But when I work with his core values, I get more disciplined in myself and our business is getting better. Now one thing Adam is, I was just saying to Steph earlier on, if Adam says he's going to do something, he does it. If you ask him to do anything and he says he'll do it, he'll do it. And that's something that you need to look at that person's away value and see where do you need to discipline yourself and where can it help you. And if it's in your business, how can I help your business where they do the things that you don't want to do, and you can learn from them. But I think if you can have the discussion with them, then once they're aware that that triggers something in you and vice versa, people are more conscious. But I think the unawareness, you know the person is infuriating you, but you can't pinpoint, so you can't discuss it. But like the reason why me and Adam get on so well at the same time is we both value knowledge, empowering others, the truth. Like I think with the healthcare system, for me, like our mom went through all cancer treatment, and that was probably what really brought my awareness to how messed up our healthcare system is. So now my why is even bigger because one of my core values is knowledge, whereas when I first started doTERRA, it was knowledge about, oh, this is great, whereas now it's like it's serious knowledge, like people in this country need to realise how bad our healthcare system is. So now I know I'm going to go presidential diamond, whereas when I was in Australia, I probably would have gone diamond just out of wanting freedom. But now, like, your values can change and strengthen. But for yourself,
how do you discover your core and way values?
okay, so this is kind of what I've been doing, is if you think about it, so I know, for example, if I were to say the word entitlement to you, Seth, or self-pity, would that enrage you?
Yeah.
So I know by knowing you that that's one of your way values, but if I were to ask you the last 5 situations that irritated, annoyed you, or you got peed off, if you told me the story, and there was 5 of them, I could pick the common theme between them all, but it comes back to a specific word. Just say, for example, Rod's was self-pity, yours is entitlement. It might be. Now, you might have the same issue with the same person, but it's for different reasons. So they completely rule your life, and I think if everyone knew their core and away values, everyone in this room could step into their greatness a lot quicker than stumbling along the way. So Stephen and Adam are very similar. They both like to be prepared, organised, and they're highly productive. If I were to get in the way of Stephen or Adam's productivity, it would be like, woo! However, if I allowed them to be productive and gave them my to-do list, it would get done and I would be very, very happy. So I've learned to give Adam my to-do list if he gets out of my way and doesn't have time to focus on what I'm doing. So the other thing is, if you've got a partner who's not supportive, it could be because you're triggering one of their away values. Like for me, like my family and my mum especially at the time, she was my complete and utter priority, and until she passed away, everything worked around her and my baby boy. So no matter what calls I had to do, no matter what it was, they all came second nature. Whereas I was lucky that Seth gave me the room to do it at my own pace. Whereas if Seth had to put pressure on me, that could have blown me out. And he might think, well, Rosie doesn't want to be mentored, or Rosie doesn't want to conform, or Rosie doesn't want to learn from me. But it was nothing to do with that. I just don't like to start something I'm not going to finish. So if I get on a call, I'm going to want to finish what I'm starting. Whereas I avoided the mentoring until I was ready to mentor people. So just with yourself, yeah?
So that's how you find your away value by thinking of when you were last angry.
And go, okay, so think about five scenarios where you're either upset, angry, and figure out what is the common theme. Then boil that theme down to a word.
What about your core?
So your core one is what energizes you. So you love systems, so it mightn't be the word systems, but it might be something like, what is it you want the person, like empowering is one of them.
Yeah, probably.
So empowerment. So if you think about all the things that energize you or you love doing, actually Joe said a good one yesterday, everything you love and everything you fear, and we all have different ones, but when you're energizing on fire, look at what's actually happening. Like mine was exercise, but what did I want to get out of that was vitality. I wanted to feel great. So it's not necessarily health that I'm into, it is health, but it's vitality. So for me that word is vitality.
Is there a pool of words that you're taking from, or is it?
Okay, so this is what I was saying to Rod a couple of weeks ago, is I need to make this duplicatable because I don't want it to stop with me. So like I met someone the other day and I was able to pull up a word within seconds because I know it. I just know intuitively, I know what the word is now that I've done so many of them. But I am going to duplicate it and I will pass that on to everyone in the room when I do it. But I probably would need to do a list of core values and a list of away values, and then figure out set questions and then people to look for the common theme. But the person has to feel safe and secure with you because you're very vulnerable giving you that information, and I would never teach someone how to do it who is going to use it for their own gain and not the person's. So like the person has to know that you want to help them.
Where do you take the words from?
Out of my head at the minute, so.
Yeah, I studied a lot of things about coaching. Like I studied a lot of NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So this is what it's all about.
Okay.
There's all lists you can find if you just type in core values. There's whole lists you get on Google.
And sometimes you'll be able to identify them yourself if you'll be able to ring them, but sometimes you're blind to them because you don't want to see them, and that's why sometimes I don't focus on the person, I focus on situations or people who anger them, because what they pick up in someone else is generally, their away values triggered. So like for me, inauthenticness is a very big one, but I always felt guilty, but now that I know it's my away value, I just learn to work around it.
Can I just say, I'm a life coach as well,
Okay.
so I do a lot of this work with clients, and what I say is what energizes you or what adds to you, like what gives you something and what takes something away from you. So if it's an away value, let's say you don't like being angry,
Yeah.
so you would like do anything not to feel that because it drains you, it takes away from you. So whatever feels draining or heavy, and then whatever feels kind of more energizing or light is what you want. But it adds to you. That's what I always say to my kids. What does it give you?
Okay.
What does it give to you? Like, what do you? Not that you're getting, like if you're constantly grabbing things, but you're benefiting from having it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. And actually, Joe, I'll let you say what you're going to say because you.
Yeah, for me, I just wouldn't get too hung up on getting worried about the list part of it. Because a lot of times we're talking to somebody who come up with those words. When we use open language and open questions, a lot of times they come out with those words that mean the most of it. And when we use those words with them, they tend to get into our word process.
Yeah. And normally what I do is say if in the conversation I pick up say 15 words, I give them back to them and I make them asterisk the ones that either that they go, whoa, that's me, or they go, ugh. So when they see the word, they'll resonate. But it is a word. That's kind of the one thing is everyone has individual words with what theirs is. So I'm going to put mine with Adam on the time schedule now, but thank you.
It was triggering one of my way values. Just kidding. Rose, you're up. So Rose is going to finish up the day talking